And then there's a huge chasing out at Flushing Meadows around this very famous Unisphere sculpture that was built in the World's Fair, and that's something that's been in my imagination my entire life.
What the hell happened?
Well, Darren, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for this movie. I really like how one of your mentors, Stuart Rosenberg, once said that it's important that there's only one place where the camera should go, and it's important as a filmmaker to understand where the camera should be.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, what are some of the things about the original novel that informed you as to how to translate this into a visual medium?
It's a good question. Look, I think when I read the book, it was very visual in nature, maybe because I know the streets of the East Village, I knew the locations, I had a vibe of what New York was like in the 90s. I could sort of see and feel these characters really well. And Charlie's writing was just very evocative of it. I think, though, when we put the scenes together and you get the actors there, and you're in a three-dimensional location, that kind of dictates where the camera is going to go. You have to kind of wait to see what other humans are going to do with it to understand where the camera should be.
I also was a huge fan when you mentioned that After Hours was a huge inspiration for this movie. There's a scene in that movie I really like where a cab just takes off from the street crazy fast, and it was inspired by something that actually happened to Martin Scorsese when he was living in New York in the 80s. I wanted to ask you, is there something about your experience as a native New Yorker that you wanted to incorporate into the movie, and if so, what is it?
I mean, there's so much. All the locations were handpicked by me, and they all mean something. From the big there's a huge fight scene at the end in Brighton Beach. Those were all locations that I grew up around, and I've been wanting to shoot them for my whole entire life. Actually, the block we shot on down the street from where we were was the location where Ellen Burstyn's character lived in Requiem for a Dream, literally 2 blocks away. So that was kind of nice to be back on the same exact block. I think it's called Brighton 6th. And so there were just so many details. I mean, even in the driving scenes, through where they were driving, the backgrounds were the neighborhood where I grew up in Brooklyn. And then there's a huge chasing out at Flushing Meadows around this very famous Unisphere sculpture that was built in the World's Fair, and that's something that's been in my imagination my entire life. So I love showing New York to tourists, I mean friends that come from other places, and it's just an amazing thrill to show off my city, and to do it now in a film is great too.
That's beautiful, thank you so much. Well, I know you've mentioned before that every movie has a different sort of grammar and a different sort of language.
Yeah.
I was really curious to ask you, what is one thing that has stayed consistently the same across all your films when it comes to the creative process? And then what is one thing that, when making this movie, called for something that you've never done before in your career?
It's a hard question, because I'd have to think about it for a second. Look, I think there's always a consistency in the work, in getting the scenes, getting the shots, getting the performance, making it as real as possible. We do that the same in every film, no matter what the camera is like, where the camera is. It's always about working it to make sense of everything. So I think that's consistent. It doesn't change, even though how the camera's used. Sometimes what the cameras are is different, but definitely what's happening in front of the camera is always very similar. And that's just finding the truth of a scene, figuring out the most interesting way, economical way to shoot something, and then executing it to the best of our ability within the time limits we have. As far as something that was very different, look, there was this huge action sequences in this film, and to be honest, in all of my movies, I haven't really done that much of that. So learning stunts and driving and where to put shots and cameras, it's things I've studied and looked at because I've watched movies my whole life, but I've never been the one trying to figure out how to cover a scene like that.
Right. Well, I think I'm being told to wrap up.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah,
Great questions.
No, thank you so much.
Nice to see you.